So, on the first lesson of the physics bootcamp, we're going to focus on, let's say, the most basic concepts of physics. Let me just write them out. That would be scalars and vectors. They might sound a little bit complex, but they're actually not. You will see in a minute. So, scalars have the magnitude, or let's say size, and the vectors have that as well. But the actual difference between them is that vectors have the directions. Let me just edit that. Directions. Okay, pause the video for half a minute and really think of an example. Okay, let me just start by myself. Let me give you an example. We'll have a box, let's say it's called X, and we'll have another box. We'll call that X as well. So the distance between them is 5 meters, and we would call it, let's say, 5 meters. So the distance between them in scalars would be 5 meters, but in vectors it would be, let's say, we might need an extra information. Okay, let's just say X is moving to the left to 5 meters, right? Okay, so now we have an extra information which is left, so the box is moving to the left, and which I would say is really good factor of the directions. So that would be, directions would be -5, because left means the negative, and let's say left means the negative, and the right means the positive. So yeah, let me just give you another example. Okay, let me just clear out. The time it takes to move from point A to point B would be, let's say, 10 seconds. And the distance would be 20 meters, let's say. A to the B. So in 10 seconds we're going to move 20 meters, which shows us the speed. That would be 2 meters per second, right? But on the vectors we should show the directions as well. So let's say, let me give you another example. So the time it takes to move from point X to Y would be 20 seconds, but the distance would be 10. Okay, from X, okay, let's say from Y to X, and the distance between them is not 10 meters, and yes, it's 10 meters, but in vectors we might call it -10 because it's on the left, and since the time might not be the, let's say, negative, we would always write it in positive. That would be velocity equals to -10, 20 seconds, so that would be -1.5 seconds meters per second. So yeah, the difference between them is that vectors have the directions, so that it might be negative or positive, but scalars should be always positive. In vectors we have the magnitude and directions. As I said before, it might be the reason for being negative and positive, but in scalars we only have the magnitude, which makes only positive numbers. Okay, in scalars we might have, let's say, speed, but in vectors that would be, okay, let me change the mark real quick. That would be velocity, because velocity can be negative as well. as well. Let's say distance, that would be, let's say, 5 meters, but let's say in vectors that might be positive or negative. Let's say that would be displacement, of course. Moment would be 5 meters or negative 5 meters. So yeah, on another video we're going to talk about the examples, I guess, and try doing some problems on that.